With the Chicago Bears' latest trades, plus his rumored next acquisition at the tight end position, Ryan Poles is finally putting his money where his mouth is as far as upgrading the protection for Caleb Williams. We're going to talk a little bit about that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And so the Chicago Bears, as we talked about, made two acquisitions so far in free agency in Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson, both upgrades at that Chicago Bears offensive line that were drastically needed, right? In the prioritization of the offensive line and the protection overall for Caleb Williams is very evident in those moves. We're still waiting to see what the Chicago Bears do next, but the Bears, who came into this with almost $80 million in cap space, have now added two players, roughly about $30 million, to now shore up their offensive line. Now, late last night, we also got word that the Chicago Bears are also planning to pursue Durham Smythe at tight end, Durham Smythe in free agency to be their backup tight end. Now, Smythe is a blocking tight end. That is where his priority is. Now, he's also a tight end that can be used some in the passing game, especially as a secondary there, right? And we know we got Cole Kmet there, who I think a lot of Bears fans are hoping is going to have a way better season than what they did last year, especially under Ben Johnson. And so, as it stands right now, Ryan Poles, through what we've known and the acquisition, and if they are able to get Durham Smythe in the building, are clearly prioritizing the protection of Caleb Williams, which Ben Johnson's talked about. Ryan Poles has talked about. Hell, I'm sure your mama and your grandmother have talked about Caleb Williams needing some protection, right? A league-high 68 sacks last year, and it's good to see that the Bears are not sparing any expense about going out there and getting their offensive line. Now, of course, that's been met with some dire from Chicago Bears fans in regards to, some thought process on who they targeted, especially, I think, more so in the case of Jonah Jackson, just with the injuries that he had, especially last year. There's some doubt around him. I think the Bears fans are going to be happy at him as long as he can stay healthy, right? And then with Joe Thuney, there's been some criticism about his age, even though he's still one of the most productive guards in the game of football, even at 32 years old. So I'm not too worried about that. It'd be different if we started to see the production slide, but he's top 10 in many categories for qualifying guards in the NFL. You add a guy like that, I don't give a damn about the age. Plus, we're starting to see guys play well into the 35, 36 years old. So 32 has more than enough time to still play and hopefully be effective for the Bears, and for the Bears to find guys to eventually replace him. The modus operandi for the Bears right now is clear. Improve the protection for Caleb Williams by any means necessary, right? Is you go out there and you improve the protection around Caleb Williams, and you want to do that. I want veterans, if you can get them to protect Caleb Williams. Yeah, you're still going to address and get some offensive linemen, no doubt, in this draft, right? I think that's still something that you're going to do, but being able to bring proven commodities in to help protect Caleb Williams is a good thing. That does not preclude you from bringing in guys that either can still maybe start or you can spend a year or so developing and having a better overall standard of that offensive line. Keep in mind, we still got Kieran Amagaje here, right? We still got Darnell Wright, who's an extremely young player. We're still going to draft probably one or two offensive linemen in this draft as well, right? So we're going to have a young crop of guards. Bill Murray's already returning. I think that Matt Pryor could come back as well. But, so for those that are worried about the age range of the players that we're adding, I don't think you need to worry about that. I think the Bears are going to take care of it. I think the thing is right now is while you can spend expensively on your offensive line, you do so, right? Caleb Williams is still on his rookie deal. And this is your opportunity to now put the line in front of him, spend more money on that line, and then hopefully by the time he's ready for his extension, then you have some young guys that then maybe aren't as expensive. But this is your time now to make that swing on expensive guards. And the Bears have still maintained future flexibility. And so that's one of the most important things here, right? is not tying yourself into long-term bad money. That is always what's been the focus here of Ryan Poles, and he's not doing that here. So we still don't have long-term bad money, which I think is a really good thing. And you look at where this offensive line is, it's in a good spot, right? We still got to go out and find our center. And there's been some questions on, of course, Dahlman there. And I think the Dahlman's going to be, somebody that the Bears definitely looking to take a strong look at. We'll see what they have here. Hey, listen, even in the young guys, I forgot to mention Ricky Stromberg as well could factor into that. But regardless, right? I think right now you got Joe Thuney at left guard, which is really good. You got Jonah Jackson at right guard. You got Darnell Wright at right tackle. You still got to figure out your center position, right, which is perfectly fine. You got Braxton Jones still slated in there right now at left tackle. We'll see what happens there. The broken tibia could still be, or fibula. I always say tibia. I don't know why my mind goes to that. Fibula is still a little bit of a question there, but I do think the Bears are going to add some depth there at the tackle position for sure. And this is just where the things sit at right now. The Bears are showing a clear indication. And that's what we really wanted, right? Is no more bargain bin shopping for your offensive line for the Chicago Bears. But I don't understand the complaints from some people, especially in the case of Joe Thuney. I don't give a damn about his age. I give a damn about the productivity, right? Now, it would be different if he had 5 years left on his contract or something like that. It's 1 year left, and you're getting an all-pro level guard, right? A Pro Bowler, all-pro guy. A guy that, if you look at the metrics, is top 10 in a lot of them. I want a guy like that on my team, right? So I think that what the Bears are doing here, and then hearing the rumor that the Bears are going to target Durham Smythe in free agency, another guy that has some history with Ben Johnson in 2018 with that Miami Dolphins team. Listen, sign me the hell up, right? So I think the Bears are making the right moves, and they're in it. It's not the home run moves. And the thing that I think that a lot of fans do, and I've said this multiple times, hell, we've had voicemails on this. Bears fans, and let me say this, football fans and sports fans in general do this, right? They get caught up in the names that they've heard rumors about. And then when you acquire somebody that's not that name that you've heard rumors about, you then start trying to figure out, okay, is this good or bad? And sometimes the mind immediately goes to, for some fans, it goes to, oh, well, this isn't such and such I heard about. Most people don't even know most offensive linemen's names. Most football fans don't. Watch how these guys perform. I think you're going to be pretty happy in how they perform. Now, the job's not done. And I hope that Ryan Poles, more than anybody, understands that this job is not remotely done. Not even close to being done. You've made some good, solid moves on making acquisitions on that offensive line. You have a good rumored one in Durham Smythe. All great things. You still got to go out and find your center. You got to then get depth, quality depth as well, right? Some of these guys are going to miss some time. It's offensive linemen. They're going to get banged up, right? The collisions that they deal with every single play, it's bound to happen. But how do you add that depth there? I think we're going to be right. And for the ones that are also talking about things like, well, is Dahlman a scheme fit? You mean Ben Johnson, who's talked about many times before how he builds the scheme around the players that he has here? Ben Johnson isn't coming in and dropping the Detroit Lions playbook on the table and saying, bet, let's figure this out. He's not doing that. Ben Johnson is probably creating and making his plays and doing all that based off things that the players that are already on this team, and he's going to solidify those as any really good to great coach will do once the roster is more finalized. We still got a lot of big questions on this roster. We haven't even gotten to free agency portion of it yet, right? So I think all those things lined up is that the Bears have some serious things that they are still looking at and evaluating, and we'll see what the future holds for those guys. But overall, right now, the Bears have done some good things. They've added some really good players, some players that I like on this team that I think are gonna do wonders for the Chicago Bears offensive line. But the job's not done. Hell, if we're being 100% honest, the job is barely even started yet in turning this thing around. So there's a lot of things around there that the Bears are going to figure out. And the Bears have made some really, really, really good decisions so far. Let's just keep it going, and I think we're going to be in a really good place when it comes down to it. But with that said, a lot of things that the Bears fans that we talked about here, for example, is that when the Bears did not tender exclusive rights to Jack Sanborn, making him able to go out and meet with other teams. Well, two of their other restricted free agents, or EFAs, they went ahead and extended and tendered offers to in Bill Murray and Daniel Hardy. These are two guys that are still young, still have a lot left to prove, but these are the type of guys you want to try to keep in your building, right, to see what you can turn into them. Daniel Hardy, who had a tremendous preseason last year for the Bears, but did not really have a lot, during the regular season. He was used a lot on special teams more than anything. We did see him getting snaps. He did play all 17 games, in that. He tied the team with 11 special teams tackles. He blocked a punt and forced a fumble last season as well. Didn't really get any sacks or anything like that. But when you look at the defensive end position and where it is right now, where we know right now today, March 6th, right? We don't know who exactly is going to be that opposite starter. Daniel Hardy at 26 years old is the type of guy that you want to invest in. He only played one season in the NFL prior to last season. Played 2022, nothing in 2023. He was on a practice squad. Then he played last year for the Chicago Bears, right? So the Bears are going to keep trying to see what they can develop in that talent. And Daniel Hardy is a guy that I really do like on this team. I think he showed enough flashes. It's not like it's a huge deal. You're not banking on him to be your guy on that defensive end, but you're seeing what you can develop in him. And having guys like Dennis Allen, our defensive line coach as well, get an opportunity to look at some of these guys that the previous regime may have not developed correctly or may have not evaluated correctly. I want to see what they them getting an opportunity to evaluate some of these guys. And so Daniel Hardy's a guy that I'm not mad at all at the Chicago Bears keeping. I think that it makes a lot of sense there. And then you look at Bill Murray, right? Bill Murray's a guy that he had a really good preseason for the Chicago Bears. He played 3 games only before he had a pectoral injury. And then, it is what it is, right? I think that he's a guy that could be perform pretty well for the Bears. And he has an opportunity to see what else he can bring here. I think that's a really good another one for the Chicago Bears to see what Bill Murray can bring to this team as far as some depth, right, and to see what he's going to have for the Bears next season. I think this is another good one for the Bears, man. I think this is a smart guy to bring him back, see what he can turn into. I believe he originally started off as a defensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken, but he converted to offensive lineman. He played pretty well for the Bears, 27 years old. Again, not a huge deal that's really affecting any type of your flexibility or anything. You bring a guy like that back. So I like seeing him come back as well for the Chicago Bears, and we'll just see what the future does hold for him. But the Bears are making decisions on their restricted free agents, and they're bringing these guys back. And they're going to try to see what they can turn into. And that's the place that the Bears are in right now. You want to see what can stick. And Bill Murray's a guy that gave the Bears some solid snaps last year. I'm not going to say the amazing snaps or anything like that, but he gave some solid production at times for the Bears. And we're going to see what the future does hold for there. But I think overall, it's another smart move for the Bears, and we'll just see what the future holds there. Now, as far as the Chicago Bears as well, people are starting to look at what the Bears are doing, the assets that they're spending on the offensive line, and starting to ask themselves, are the Bears started to be slated to make a move for Ashton Jeanty, which has been rumored a lot for the Chicago Bears, right? This is a continuing question for the Bears that's going to be asked all the time. Daniel Jeremiah on the Rich Eisen show said this. This was their glaring need. If you watch the Bears last year, if we're going to get a fair evaluation of Caleb Williams, that has to be upgraded. So you not only have you already done that before the free agency starts, but you've now freed up yourself a little bit in both free agency and the draft. You don't want to be in a situation where you have this glaring need that you have to grossly overpay in terms of what you're going to give a free agent, or you're reaching for somebody with that 10th overall pick. Now it frees up some new names there. Ashton Jeanty, there to me, is legitimately in the conversation if you're the Bears. Now, the Ashton Jeanty has been a polarizing conversation for a lot of Bears fans, right? You got Bears fans that think, hey, you do not draft a running back in the first round unless you're sure they're going to be great. Not just a good player, great, right? And here's the thing when it comes down to that for the Bears. Jeanty makes a lot of sense for the Bears if you're trying to think long-term with Caleb Williams and having a back in there that can free up. Caleb is not Justin Fields. You don't want him. He's not going to be running around a whole hell of a lot for you. That's not necessarily what you want there, right? But if you can, I still think if Will Campbell's there, you take Will Campbell at tackle, especially now that you went out and got your guards, because I do believe that this running back class in this draft is deep enough to where you can get a quality running back in round 2 or 3. You can. A running back that can literally start for you on day 1, right? And you don't even need them to do that. You still got DeAndre Swift here, right? And so I do think that it's clear. I think that you've seen enough smoke around it at this point that it's starting to be clear that Ben Johnson wants another running back in here. And that's perfectly fine, right? And I'm not even saying that maybe Jeanty can't be that guy, but you got to be damn sure that you get right, because here's what I'll tell you, right? If Jeanty if any of the running backs drafted after Jeanty, whether it's a Hampton, whether it's a Quashawn Judkins, no matter what, name your favorite running back after Jeanty. If those guys later in the draft, right, go on to have great rookie seasons or great careers, and Jeanty's just good, right, or great, but those other guys, people are going to look at, don't let Will Campbell be on the board, and he ends up going out and having a great Pro Bowler career. Don't let Armand Mbao be on the board, and he goes on to have a great, consistent Pro Bowl career, and you look at Jeanty still, I don't think Jeanty's going to fail at the NFL level. That's not what I'm saying here. But I'm saying that it equal to the production that you can get at a position of need and then address that running back later down the road, that's a huge question there. But I'd be remiss and unfair to say that it doesn't seem like it's starting to shape up that the Chicago Bears are going to be or possibly could be targeting Jeanty with the number 10 pick. It's a complete possibility, especially when you pair in the fact that these offensive lineman grades haven't been the greatest in this draft to where there are some that in the second round that are graded just up there with anybody in the first round. Those are the things there. So, we'll see what the Bears do. I think the way that the draft is shaping up, especially with a quarterback weak draft, it's shaping up that the Bears are going to have their pick between a defensive end, a running back, and an offensive lineman falling there, right? And I do think that what the Bears have done as far as trades and getting Joe Thuney and these guys in here, it does free up the possibility more of what they can do with that pick. And we'll just see what the future does hold there, man. Overall, I'll say this. I'm still excited. I'm always excited about a Bears offseason. I think the Bears have made some really damn good, solid moves in here to start shoring up some of this and fixing some of this stuff that we have. I've said it before. I'm not going to waver from it. I still think it's the true statement here. The Chicago Bears are in a position to where they can address basically every major need they have between free agency and the draft this year, and it's a realistic one. Yeah, theoretically, every offseason you can address your needs, but I think that the Bears have quality options and just about every need that they have throughout this draft. I just think that it's there. It exists. It's there. It's evident. And so because of that, if the Bears want to take I wouldn't call it a risk, but if the Bears do want to go outside of the common thought of getting their offensive lineman in, I still think two out of your three first picks have to still be offensive linemen, in my personal opinion, right? I know not everyone's going to agree with that, and that's fine, but that's just where I see it, right? Maybe you can go 4 because you have 2 second-round picks and a third-round pick, so maybe 2 out of your first 4 picks have to be offensive line for the Bears in this one, but the way things are shaping up, the way that they're looking is that running back is going to be addressed in this draft. The biggest question is where in the draft do you address it? Are you going to address it with Jeanty? Does Jeanty even fall there, right? Do you trade back if a team wants Jeanty? That could be what the Bears are doing as well as posturing, right? Yeah, Bears are going to think like, oh, yeah, we're going to draft. We're very open to drafting a running back here at number 10. And then when those calls start coming in, when you're around pick 6, 7, right, and it's looking like Jeanty's going to fall to 10 and those other teams start calling your phone and the Bears are like, that's what we want to do. What's the offer? And Ryan Poles has a chance to gain more assets by trading back, still getting an offensive lineman, and still getting a damn good running back here later in this draft. All those, and that's the best place to be in as a front office. That's where you want you want to be negotiating from a position of power. That would be negotiating from a position of power. That would be doing that. It's being able to then have that flexibility for teams to call and you can gain more assets because it does look like on paper there's an absolute major chance you're just going to draft Jeanty and let the rest fall where they may, right? And that's how Ryan Poles plays things. And so we'll see, is this a chess match? Is this more straightforward? I do think that this draft could be a pretty straightforward draft for the Chicago Bears. Now, I think as well that there's some leeway in there to do some creative things, but that's the best place to be in. We have the flexibility. We still have the ability to create more cap space if we need it. I'm telling y'all right now, Ryan Poles has already started cooking. But what we've seen so far, that's just preparing the vegetables. That's just sous chefing right now. The cooking is about to start when free agency starts and we get into the draft. Trust Ryan Poles. I think Poles is going to cook, man. I think all the signs are there and things are starting to shape up in the Bears' favor to take advantage of some things. So we'll see what the future does hold. I'm excited. I know a lot of Bears fans are excited. We're going to cover it all right here at Chicago Bears Central. Should have no doubt about that. When news drops, we drop. It just is what it is here. And in exchange for your subscription, we're giving you the best daily content for the Chicago Bears you'll find anywhere. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, chicagobearcentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, which goes down tomorrow, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.